Democrats have quite a leadership crisis going on right now. It really doesn't seem like they have any A-listers, a rising star within their party who takes on Trump and who galvanizes the base. Very difficult to see that type of person. At this moment, I know it's very early, but I'd like to talk about Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. So this guy, people talked about the idea of him replacing Joe Biden in 2024. Joke tweets after the debate like Gavin Newsom, stand back and stand by. But would the guy actually be a good presidential candidate? Would he be a good president? That's a question for another day. But if he's a good presidential candidate, he's the type of guy who can win back some of those red states or those swing states that Trump turned red in 2024, as well as possibly win over some traditionally red states. I mean, we never know what's going to happen in 4 years. So there's all these pictures that a lot of liberal types are sharing on X, some YouTube videos about them, with like Gavin Newsom kind of looking like he's poking Trump's chest, and Trump's got this awkward posture like he's leaning forward. Someone referred to him as the Leaning Tower of Fascism in that picture. And a lot of people were praising Newsom's posture. They're like, look at this alpha male telling Trump off, he's owning them. I don't even know what Gavin Newsom was saying in that moment. It just looked like a picture where he was kind of bossing him around or spitting some truth right in his face, like an aggressive alpha male or whatever. Will Americans actually vote for someone like Gavin Newsom in a general election? Would he win the Democratic primary? I think the latter is possible, but would Americans feel like voting for Gavin Newsom? So he's a good talker. He's a good debater. He had a debate with Ron DeSantis fairly recently, within the past 2 years or so. Ron DeSantis, of course, at that time was running for president. Gavin Newsom was not. So it was like this showdown between two governors, red governor of Florida, blue governor of California, talking about their states, throwing their weight around, boasting about their accomplishments, trying to score some owns on each other. DeSantis had some good knocks at Newsom in California, but Newsom held his own really well. And I feel like in today's environment, you do have to be really sharp if you're trying to defend California in general. And I'm not saying that to dunk on California. I've been to it before and I think it's great. But the fact of the matter is it does have a negative reputation. There are a lot of people who are actually centrists, who are leftists, not just right-wingers, who have a negative opinion of California. They just do. They view it as a place that's way too high in crime, cost of living is too high, taxes are too high, there's corruption within the Democratic Party there. And that's not to excuse Republicans because their states have problems too. Look at their education problem, look at their poverty problem. But California has really attracted a lot of attention. And I think that has to do with the way that Republicans set the narrative. They think it's so cool to just use California as a punching bag. But actual Democrats, like especially elected Democrats, they don't go out and say, oh, Alabama bad, freaking Mississippi bad, Tennessee bad, red state bad. Look at this statistic that says how bad they are. They usually don't do that. So Republicans are just more willing to get down in the mud and throw crap at California. So Gavin Newsom has to deal with that. He's from the same home state as Kamala Harris, who just lost. I don't know if that's an indicator of anything. We've had a California Republican win recently, in recent modern history, I would say, in terms of Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, both Republicans of California. Reagan being a governor, Nixon being a senator. But we haven't had a Democratic president from California. That's not really been a thing in modern history. Usually it's been a Democratic president from a blue state like Obama or Biden, who are from Illinois and Delaware respectively. But California has this reputation as being like a staunchly liberal place. You don't think, oh, Delaware or Illinois and think, oh, that's a super liberal place, that's super far left. You think of it as a solidly blue state, but you don't think of it as being a bastion of leftism. California, we know Republicans love to throw mud at them and just say, oh, this is liberal hellhole or whatever. So Gavin Newsom is going to need to do a good job framing his governorship. He's going to need to do a good job kind of playing defense for the state of California. He will no longer be the governor by the time that the 2028 primary rolls around. So maybe he can focus more on what he wants to do as president, but he's also inevitably going to have to talk about what he's done as governor. Maybe Kamala Harris will become governor of California by then. She might run in 2026. That's an actual thing people are talking about. So yeah, he's got the juice in terms of energy, in terms of rhetoric, in terms of aggressiveness. He was decent at defending the Biden administration in interviews. He stood up for Biden. He was unapologetic about it. He did rather, unfortunately, defend Biden after his bad debate performance and say, I'm behind the president, he should stay in. Behind the eight ball on that one, just tragic. He should have been out there saying this guy needs to drop out because that's what we all knew was right. Internal polling showed Biden losing by over 400 votes. So are his instincts the best? I don't know. Now, I did want to talk about a theory that I've heard actually about the 2024 election and Gavin Newsom. This sounds a little far-fetched, but you can let me know what you think in the comments. Some people actually think that Gavin Newsom wanted Trump to win, and he wanted to help Trump win against Kamala Harris, because if Kamala Harris wins in 2024, she'll be the nominee in 2028. That's basically guaranteed. And that delays Gavin Newsom's presidential runs all the way till 2032. But if Gavin Newsom wants to run in 2028, he can just have Trump win. And he probably feels like, oh, if Trump wins, he's going to embarrass himself. He's going to humiliate himself in the MAGA movement and destroy the Republican Party's brand, just like the brand was destroyed after George W. Bush left office. So I don't know if I believe that theory. I think that's really extreme. I think the Democrats genuinely do not like the idea of Trump being in power, even if they're capitulating a little too much to him right now. So Gavin Newsom, he's going to come into office. He'd be coming into office after either a term of Trump or a term of Vance if something happens to Trump, whatever. Fill in the blank with how Trump is no longer president by January 2029. But yeah, he'll be able to make the case that, hey, these guys screwed things up. And if you remember, I mean, in 2020, Biden came in after one term of Trump and basically ran on the idea that, oh, this whole first term just been terrible. And by the end of Trump's term, November 2020, mostly because of COVID, but some other stuff, people were like, yeah, you're right, Joe. Trump's term has been terrible. We need change. So Gavin Newsom might not be recognized as a really lovable guy, a really good, honest guy who people think is going to be the best president, but he might just be seen as better than the alternative. And the alternative would be a continuation of Trumpism. Hopefully not Trump himself, because you can't run for a third term. But some people are making that argument. So in terms of policy, I'm kind of curious. I feel like I need to do a little more research, but it seems like Newsom has been a really pro-environmental guy in the state of California. He can make the case for that. I know he can. He's good with rhetoric. I also know that the Republicans are going to throw a lot of mud at him about his environmental policies. They're going to say, oh, you're focusing on this. It's just a scam. Oh, you're trying to fix homelessness. They'd focus on that too, because they bash him for trying to fix homelessness. And then it's like, oh, the money doesn't go to fix homelessness. It just goes to other Democrat pet projects and stuff. I've heard all this rhetoric. And it's like, I don't say I'm impressed with Republicans all that much, but I'm impressed with how they've all got these marching orders and they've got their ducks in a lane in terms of just launching consistent rhetoric against California. I mean, it's the biggest punching bag of a state in the country right now. Not just of red states or blue states, but of blue states, of all states, really. They're in an awkward spot. I think, after Kamala Harris's loss, Gavin Newsom does have to learn some things about kind of not being too pro-status quo. That'll be made easier by the fact that Trump will have been president for 4 years, or at least the Republicans will have held the presidency for 4 years. But he's got to shake this whole corporate thing. He kind of comes off like just a corporate Democrat and not really that much of a populist. That's kind of an issue. Because I get that the idea of being like, oh, just be populist, just appeal to the average people. It's kind of overplayed, but you need to kind of do it. So he might benefit from acting a little bit Trumpian, taking the gloves off. Not Trumpian in the sense of advocating for Trumpian policies, but being aggressive, use social media to your advantage. Mobilize an army of social media sycophants, so to speak, that will defend you and that will go after your opponents. I just don't see Gavin Newsom as having the cult of personality that Trump has right now. Nobody has a Trump cult of personality, but I don't see him as having, I guess you could say, the Obama level of enthusiasm. Think about Obama. He rises to fame in 2004 for this address endorsing John Kerry at the DNC. And I mean, there was momentum. And then 4 years later, he gets elected president. Gavin Newsom has been well known for more than 4 years now. So by 2028, people will have known him a while, which could be an advantage, but also could be like, oh my God, this guy, we know so much about this loser, this snake, this establishment clown, you know? Whereas with Obama, the fact that he kind of came up so quick made him feel fresh. And Gavin Newsom didn't come up so quickly. He's been around a while, and so that would deplete the appearance of his freshness. So yeah, got to work on that used car salesman energy too. A lot of leftists have pointed this out. Gavin Newsom gives off used car salesman energy. Also, his relationship with Donald Trump Jr.'s girl, Kimberly Guilfoyle, that's a little sussy. I imagine there's going to be some mudslinging about that. A lot of stuff is going to come to light in the campaign. So what do I think about Gavin Newsom as a candidate in 2028? How would I grade his prospects right now, 3 years and 10 months ahead of the time? So I would probably give him a B. I don't think he's that amazing. I don't think he's horrible. I think he's whip sharp in terms of his rhetoric, but I think there's a lot of baggage that could really surprise some people. I do. You know, we've had Democratic candidates who are sharp, know how to make the case, and they still get destroyed because they just have too much baggage, or because the Republicans happen to be doing well, or the economy is doing well at the time. So like, think Michael Dukakis, Walter Mondale, Al Gore lost very narrowly, but these were all policy-focused people who knew how to make their case, smart guys, but they still lost, and Dukakis and Mondale lost badly. So yeah, watch out with Gavin Newsom. Be cautious. I think he might be the favorite to win the Democratic nomination right now, in my estimation. Some of the polls show that, but not all. But yeah, he's to the right of a lot of the Democrats like AOC, but he's still not like a Joe Manchin type. He might arguably be to the left of Biden, but we kind of got to wait and see. But just by being in California too, it's like he's going to get tarred as far left, and the Republicans are going to have quite a bit of ammunition on that front. They didn't have that same ammunition on Biden, by the way. Biden was from a blue state, but you know, he was Obama's VP. Like, he's an old white guy, crime bill, you know, Iraq war, like, just doesn't give off far left vibes. Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, very well could. So that's my assessment of Gavin Newsom. I give him a B. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. This has been The More Is the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.